As it courses to the sea, water plays a dramatic role in shaping our environment. Life abounds where water is plentiful and clean.
It's the cocoa of the Aina. Without water, nothing can survive.
Every little thing that you do has a potential impact on water quality, whether it's at your house or out here on the farm.
Anything that goes in that storm drain is going to wind up in the ocean. Dumping your engine oil in a sewer, your household cleaning fluids.
Clean water is important for a healthy ocean environment for people, animals, and plants. Beautiful Waialua Bay on the north shore of the island of Oahu. Surfers, swimmers, fishermen, people who live here, people who visit. Everyone enjoys these waters. But is the fresh water entering the ocean here causing problems in the nearshore water of these bays?
The bay has been steadily degrading, and it is listed as a stressed estuary. There's ranching that drains into the bay, there's sugarcane culture, there's pineapple culture, and lots of small farms, plus the Schofield. Military training areas that also add to it.
Sometimes it'll rain, the water will get dirty, and you'll find out that because of the runoffs from the river, the water gets really nasty. In fact, it's totally brown, where it's not even suitable to surf.
There is a bad problem with erosion in the upper elevations, particularly above Wailua, toward Wahiwa, and everything that washes down into the streams ends up here in Kawika Bay.
Water flowing off the land will pick up sediment, nutrients, pesticides, and introduce species including bacteria commonly found in sewage. It picks up the runoff from our urban and agricultural activities that are part of our everyday life.
I think one of the most important things is helping people to realize that there are problems in the community, in this watershed in Kawika and Wailua, and that everybody has ownership to those problems.
The water flows into Wailua and neighboring Kawika Bay on the surface of the land and underground.
We're kind of at the toe of a groundwater flow path. It's like water moving through big mazes of rocks and stuff.
The water also flows into the bays in streams and man-made canals. It comes from as far away as Wahiwa Town and the Army post at Schofield Barracks. It flows through fields of pineapples, sugarcane, and other crops. Near the shore, small farms are fed by springs from the water flowing underground through this watershed. So who is responsible for protecting the quality of water flowing into the ocean? Federal, state, and local government agencies monitor and regulate water usage and discharge. But it is people using water in their daily activities who really affect water quality.
But all of my last 10 or 15 years have been involved in managing the field operations of a large sugar company. I was responsible for the growing and the harvesting of the crop to make a profit. However, coupled with that is the responsibility for the husbandry of the land and the maintaining of the land and the reduction of soil losses through the farming operation.
And then when we came into the picture, we saw a lot of potential for this place, not just for farming, for educational purposes, teaching some of our younger kids on this side of the island about taro.
The important thing is not to grow as much taro as we can or make as much money as we can, but to have the place be productive, have it be friendly, have it be open, and have it be fun, and feel good about what we're doing. And we feel good about what we're doing when we know that we're doing it cleanly.
You have to have a certain amount of personal pride in what you do, which I do have, and you know, this area that I live in it's a beautiful area, and we all need to take a part in trying to maintain good conservation practices.
Schofield Barracks and East Range Army training areas are located in the Kawika-Wailua Bay watershed. So anything that we do up in this area, any kind of soil erosion caused by maneuver damage, will eventually end up in the streams and flow down into the ocean.
I'm responsible for providing training facilities and lands for the military training units using the Army land. I'm also responsible, therefore, as a land manager, as to be a good steward of those lands and protect them. In the environmental sense, we provide them with the vegetation that they need to that's conducive for their training.
When I first moved on this post, there was a lot of talk of the water being contaminated and not drinkable, and a lot of people were getting bottled water. And so I had the water analyzed to make sure that it won't be harmful. Then I started thinking where these contaminants are coming from and really become aware where the water goes and how the water cycle works.
My job here is to teach the children ocean awareness and also to make them aware that a lot of times the water is not going to be of good quality like you see it today.
When you're living as we are right on the beach and you spend so much time in the water, you become more conscious of the environment. I don't want to be concerned when I go in the water that I'm dealing with water that has contaminated sediment or seaweed or fish.
The West Oahu Soil and Water Conservation District saw a chance to bring water users together with government agencies, and the Kawika-Wailua Bay Hydrologic Unit Area Project was created.
Our whole point was to come up with best management practices for all those different disciplines that would affect the quality of the water on the near shoreline.
As we were starting to work on this farming project, we found out about the local advisory committee and the Kawika-Wailua Hydrologic Unit Area Project. And we liked the way the project was described in terms of its water quality goals, and we decided to get involved.
The LAC is a good vehicle for people to get involved in who live in this area with the water quality that affects Kawika-Wailua Bay, but affects the whole island.
You know, there's really a lot of good work going on, a lot of good educational work, a lot of frank discussion of water quality issues, and also now a lot of good data collection on what's happening in our streams and in the bay waters of Kawika and Wailua.
We're trying to analyze and find out how the ocean is being affected by runoffs in water and whether it's killing off certain species of Lineau. And we're trying to find out also whether it's affecting the fishes and the animals in the ocean.
It's also been an opportunity for us to become involved with other farmers who do things a little bit differently than we do. Dole pineapple, Del Monte pineapple, and Wailua sugar, you know, they're the three biggest agricultural ventures in this area. And so we've been learning how they do things, they've been learning how we do things, and sometimes there's some friction there, but you know, at least it's a chance for us to get together.
Once you start tilling the ground, once you start farming, once you start disturbing the soil and the land, then you're in for all these things to occur. And that's erosion, runoff, what do you apply to the ground, is that going to run off, and so forth. So you have to find the best way to do it and wind up with the least damage to the environment and the land and still be able to do the farming.
The Natural Resources Conservation Service helps landowners understand and put into practice good conservation measures.
What I've tried to do as an approach is provided people with alternatives to use of pesticides and herbicides, and as well as alternatives to fertilizers or uses of fertilizers that are extensive, that would amount to either surface losses or leaching to the groundwater.
Thousands of acres in the watershed are cultivated by corporate farmers. The project is helping develop farming methods that help stop harmful agricultural runoff.
We have put together several projects which target the worst areas of concern, such as how we farm in the fields, putting in diversion ditches, waterways, grassed waterways, settling basins to collect water and settle out silt before it's released into the streams that go to the ocean.
We use very little herbicides and so forth because we run goats along with our cattle, and we use the goats to control the small brush and weed problems and so forth, so that we don't have to use an abundance of herbicides. So we don't have a real chemical type runoff to worry about. Most of it would be silt. I guess probably the single most important thing would be creating check dams in the runoff streams, because the topography of our land, in the winter when you get hard rains, you get all the soft silt comes off the topsoil, it runs down into these gulches and goes straight off into the ocean. So if we put in enough check dams, it stops a lot of that silt. The other thing is managing your grazing practices so that you don't create new runoff.
Preventing unwanted runoff can be as simple as planting ground cover, low-lying vegetation that holds the soil in place.
And that's what we're working on here in this demonstration. It's a ground cover demonstration project where we're trying to introduce people to the different types of ground covers, the grasses and the legumes, show them to them, let them see what they look like, as well as providing them with plant materials that they can grow in their own farm, on their yard, in commercial landscaping type of activities.
Military training activities also have an impact on water quality.
The other thing that we do too is if we find an area that's heavily impacted by training, being the training managers also, we will move that training and find another area that's not highly damaged.
The environmental staff has to work very closely with the range control personnel. They are in effect the land managers for all Army ranges, in the state of Hawaii. They're out here every day. They're able to observe maneuver damage. They can report it to the environmental staff over at the Directorate of Public Works. We in turn would initiate projects or contracts to revegetate and restore the land.
Good water quality in the future takes commitment from everybody who uses and lives on the land today.
This is our survival. We get our food source from this aina, from this area, Pa'alakai. It's been good to us, and at the same time, we gotta be good to the land. We gotta malama, and if we no malama, we lose out. Nothing tastes good.
We're part of the problem. We live here in Hawaii, so we have to do something about it.
If we don't take care of the land and try to maintain it, then it breaks down and it ends up out in the ocean. And if that's happening, then I'm not getting the productivity out of it that I should be getting out of it, or that I could be getting out of it. And so that's why I feel good conservation is good business.
This project is not going to be an overnight type of success. It's one sprig at a time, even if it's one person like myself planting one sprig of grass.
Well, that's the bottom line. You know, we go to meetings and we talk about it, and we go to class and we learn about it or teach about it, but the bottom line is really being able to do something about it in every phase of your life.
Together, these citizens, these agencies, these corporate ventures are working towards common ground, clean water.
The video we've just been watching is about the Kawika Bay hydrological unit, and it's about clean water. My name's Bob Lineau, and I'm here to discuss this video with you. With us also today we have Dr. Kimberly Clarke, who's with the Hawaii Organic Farmers Association, and also we have Rick Eveleth, who's an Assistant Director of the West Oahu Soil and Water Conservation District. Today we've had a chance to look at this video. The funding for this project is over in September 1996. We're going to take a look at the effect this project has had, and we're going to talk about perhaps some of the things that might happen in the future.
You know, we haven't by any means found even all of the problems that we know are out there. We know there's more problems, and of the ones that we have found, we don't have all the solutions yet. But this area gives us an opportunity to study all of the different land use disciplines, from farming, big farming, small farming, ranching, military uses, and the urban city of Wahiawa. Best management practices are practices that are developed through study and engineering that allow the farmers and ranchers and military and so forth to do their thing and yet minimize the amount of pollution, be it soil runoff or chemicals that would go down the streams during, say, a large rain and end up in our bays, the Kawika and the Wailua bays. So the project area gives us all this opportunity to not only find out what the problems are, but try to solve them. And best management practices are what you come up with to try to reduce that pollution. We've thrown around the idea of non-point source pollution, and maybe Kimberly, you can help us with that one.
Yes, Rick, thank you. There are 5 different types of non-point source pollution, the first of which is rubbish. All little kids know, don't be a litter bug. Alien species is becoming something we're more aware of now, with contamination from sewage runoff and animal manures washing into our streams. And also soil is something that we've been working a lot with in this project, soil conservation. Soil erosion is a natural process, but by man's disruption, like mentioned in the video, the more erosion takes place. There's also chemical and different types of nutrient as non-point source pollution as well. Chemical contamination can come from either agricultural uses or from home use. Thinking about having whiter whites might not always be the best thing. Maybe if you use a little bit less detergent, you can still have the same results. Nutrient is also a very important non-point source pollutant. There are different alternatives for nutrient application, from synthetic fertilizers to manures and compost. Traditional Hawaiian methods and organic farming are the alternatives that you can find a lot of these different elements that help to reduce non-point source pollution. But there's a lot of educational and awareness efforts that we put forth in the project, and maybe Bob, you can talk to us about that some.
Well, the subject of non-point source pollution certainly is one of the educational areas, and educational component is one of the most successful aspects of the whole project. It happened in several different areas. The local advisory board that came together for a couple of years and talked was made up of a really broad and diverse mix of people. So there's a lot of exchange of ideas, and a lot of people got to meet each other that probably should know each other that wouldn't have otherwise known each other. Perhaps the most successful interface, though, was through some educational programs that Dr. Dan Janik put together. He got into the elementary schools and we designed a costume character, Apuakehau, who was a native Hawaiian fish, and he got some really basic things in there, like fish don't like to live in dirty water. Well, kids actually have to learn that. They may know that water is wet, but beyond that, you have to start teaching them some ethics. He also got educational programs going with Leeward Community College. They came in to the estuary and did some transects. They did diversity studies. And so we have some really nice baseline studies to find out if things are, in fact, going to get better in the future or perhaps worse. There were newsletters that went out to the community, and so it talked about some of the water cleanliness issues. Also, there were other educational components in that there were classes taught at the university where students came in and took a look at the hydrological unit and the water resources there. So education was really an important component. It's probably the most important component of the future. Is if we're going to have clean water, we're going to have to educate people.
There are different alternatives for use of nutrients and for chemicals. Everything from agriculture to your home use. You can always think of alternative ways, perhaps, to lessen the impact on water that you use, so that the water that you take from the faucet is returned as clean as possible to the storm sewers and into our streams and whatnot.
You know, waste streams is it's almost a concept. We all buy things and use things and metabolize some of it, but on the backside of people, we're always generating things. And I think we all need to take responsibility for the fact that some of that becomes or can become non-point source pollution. And if we become knowledgeable about it, maybe we can make it less. Rick, what are some examples you can think of non-point pollution or waste streams associated with the agricultural world?
Well, Bob, let me give you a quick one in agriculture. We fertilize our crops with nitrogen, and you've heard the story about the nitrates getting into the groundwater. Well, if the plant can only use so many pounds of nitrogen per acre, and we put on more than that, where's it going to go? It's going to go down. So a best management practice is to gear your fertilizer application to be exactly what the plant needs and no more, and then apply it with the right timing and the right amount of water so that it just gets into the soil, it gets taken up by the roots, and you have no waste stream going out the bottom to the groundwater table.
Terrific. Kimberly, what can you think of in terms of waste streams?
Well, in organic farming, compost is a very important element. Most people, when they clean their yard, take all their green waste and put it out for the garbage men to take, and it ends up in our landfill, and it's being diverted now through the city and county efforts. But you can either have your own compost pile very simply in your backyard, or you can just leave your grass clippings on your lawn if you mow frequently, and that will help to conserve moisture and help also provide some nutrients. So synthetic fertilizer is not necessary. Compost is a really great way of adding nutrient and conserving water and reducing the waste stream that we all produce.
So the educational component of this program or project, I think, was very, very positive. And the educational component very much is fed by experts that are in the various agencies. Rick, you know a lot about that.
Yeah, Bob, we have 3 agencies that we want to talk about today. The West Oahu Soil and Water Conservation District, which is a group of elected and appointed directors who work with the farmers and make the link between the farmer and the Natural Resources Conservation Service. The Natural Resources Conservation Service is a federal agency where technical expertise is supplied. So between these 3, the farmer, the West Oahu Soil and Water Conservation District, and NRCS, you come up with a conservation plan, and the farmer becomes a cooperator. This is commitment. This is awareness of what they're doing to the land in their process of growing crops. CES is another one. CES is the Cooperative Extension Service, who goes out to help farmers also, and is very big in the educational field. And we definitely want to be aware of these 3 agencies that are helping us out, helping the farmers and helping the individuals out in what they do with that waste stream.
Well, it's important that we have these resources, and as taxpayers, it's nice to know we have places to go to help with our environment. Aside from going to governmental agencies, I think there's lots of things that communities do. Do you know about some of the community interfaces, Kimberly?
Yes, a little bit. A lot of nonprofit organizations are in place now. There's a Native Hawaiian Advisory Council and our organization, Hawaii Organic Farmers Association. There are many other nonprofits and community groups like neighborhood boards and whatnot that have projects going on looking at water quality. People can get involved. They take ownership of the problem. They actually make their own choices as to what to actually do and to participate and to contribute to the entire solution. So it's everyone's problem. We need to take ownership, and we need to all find our place so we can be active and benefit the future.
Well, we do all participate, whether we want to or not, in the pollution part of it. And it is important for communities to buy in. Rick, do you have any ideas about where to get involved in the community?
Well, I might mention one thing. The LAC, which is mentioned on the video, is ending, of course, in September. But a new committee is being formed, and it's just a committee of concerned citizens who can join together, and will probably meet once a month and come up with all kinds of new projects and things that we can do to help our environment and to reduce that pollution stream that's coming down. And when that committee gets fully organized and fully going, we will be putting out a lot of poop sheets to people to get involved.
There's one. New organizations are starting, piggybacking onto existing things like Girl Scouts and Boy Scout projects. Karate clubs can go out and do good deeds. Surf clubs go out and do good deeds. The city and county has an Adopt a Stream program. The city and county also goes out into the classrooms and they talk about beach pickups. There's lots and lots of groups that have real constructive programs going that all lead to clean water. And there's kind of a synergy too. If you take on one good project, all of a sudden you're kind of thinking in the right direction. So that old saying about think globally and act locally probably is the key to this whole thing. Our waste streams are ubiquitous, and what we do about them is very important. Looking to the future, if people want to get involved in clean water, which we all should, the Cooperative Extension Service is a good place to go, and we have a phone number for you. It's 956-7138. Again, the Cooperative Extension Service phone number, which is out of the University of Hawaii, is 956-7138.